Hey guys, welcome back to the Happiness Perspective. My name is Tracy Lynn Murray, and I'm here to help women find more joy in their lives through a fresh perspective. Now, today we're going to talk about kind of a third foundational piece to the perspective, and this is a really important one, and that's the practice of gratitude. Now, when you hear the word grateful, you might think of things like feeling thankful or feeling blessed for what you have in your life, and that's most certainly true. The definition of grateful is being in a state of thankfulness. But for me, it's so much more than that because it brings with it such a powerful emotion. And if you remember from the past few weeks, having that emotional piece is so important to attracting what you want in your life. Now, the really cool thing about gratitude is that because it's such a powerful, positive emotion in the brain, it makes it really hard for your brain to try to process more negative emotions at the same time. So because of that, it's a really cool tool to have in your arsenal to help bring more of that joy into your life. Now, let me get a little bit nerdy with you guys. If you didn't know, I have my doctorate in physical therapy, so I can totally nerd out and dive into the science of gratitude for a minute. Now, that has been an area that has exploded over the past few years. Research is finding amazing things about gratitude, like that it improves sleep, it improves your relationships with other people, it makes you more efficient, and new research is showing that a steady, successful gratitude practice can be just as effective as some of the more traditional ways that we treat things that we're going through in society, which is super cool. Now, that's all because of some chemicals in the brain that are neurotransmitters called serotonin and dopamine. Now, you can sum it up as these are the feel-good chemicals in the brain. It's what we release when we feel happy, and it's what we release when we feel grateful for something. Now, the really cool thing is the brain is very complex and it's very efficient. So as you're going through just your normal day, the brain naturally prunes back or clips some of those nerve pathways that we don't use a lot. And the ones that we use continually become stronger and stronger as they add more neurons to that, which is why it's so beneficial for things like speaking another language, playing an instrument, doing art, and yep, you guessed it, having a gratitude practice. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about that later on. But first, I kind of want to tell you how I learned that there's a little bit of a right and a wrong way to do gratitude. Maybe about 3 or 4 years ago, a family friend was kind of going through some funky stuff in their life and decided to give gratitude journaling a try. And she noticed some really positive changes in her life and inside of herself. So I was like, all right, get me to Target, get me that fancy notebook. I'm gonna gratitude it up. I'm writing every night 10, 15, 20 things, a whole page of things I'm grateful for. And after a while, it became just another thing to do in my daily routine, just another task to get done. And even though I was writing down things that I love, my husband, my dogs, my house, my car, the food that I get to eat, I wasn't getting a whole lot out of it. And that's because I was missing that key piece that I talked about in the very beginning, the emotion that is so important behind it. Because remember, emotions are truly what helps speed up that attraction process to you back when we talked about things like the law of attraction. Now, my husband came up with a really interesting, down-to-earth, practical way to work on practicing gratitude. And that's when you think about something that you want to talk about being grateful for, or you want to feel grateful for, very briefly, not too long because you don't want to get negative, but briefly think about that thing not being in your life. Then, now think about it again as being in your life and how it makes you feel, and try to embody that feeling. And what I find really helpful to help me feel that way is when I write down something I'm grateful for. After it, I write a few words or a sentence or two of why I'm so grateful for that thing. So instead of just writing my house, I think about for a second what it would feel like to not be able to have a roof over my head and have to sleep on the street or in the woods every night. And then think again about how awesome it is to have my house and why I'm grateful for it. Because I have this safe place to come home to, that I have decorations that express us. My husband and I have a place to share our lives and build our lives in, all within these four walls and a roof. And I think about that and try and feel that feeling. And like I said, I had also written out a few reasons why I'm grateful for it. And once I started doing that, I started noticing that happiness feeling come quicker. Now, the other part of this is why I called it a practice of gratitude. And that's because, you guessed it, it is a practice. Just like so many other things, there's a learning curve to it, and it's something that you need to commit to doing over time. Doing just once or twice, yeah, you're going to feel good in that moment, but it's not going to create that overall direction toward that more happy life and improve those things like sleep and efficiency and nervousness, all that stuff. So with the practice of it, we talked a little bit about this with the science. The more that you do something, the stronger those nerve pathways are going to get. And this is why being grateful and having a gratitude practice is so amazing, because the more that you do it, the more that your brain starts to add more neurons to that pathway, and it gets stronger, and the easier and quicker it becomes for you to start feeling those feelings of joy and happiness. And because of that, the more you do it, you'll just start noticing things in your day, kind of as you're just going about your usual tasks. Those little pieces of gratitude and that happiness feeling that comes with it will start to flow into your life more. So that's why it's one of the big foundational pieces of the happiness perspective, and why it's one of the best tools that you can have in your arsenal. So I want you to take some time and a few minutes every day, maybe even just 2 or 3 minutes, when you first get home from work and you're decompressing, or before you shut your eyes at night, and think of just a couple of things that you're grateful for, and really try to embody that feeling and think of why you're grateful for them. Okay? So thank you for joining me for another episode of The Happiness Perspective, and I'll see you guys next week.